Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be my review, my thoughts on the Avatar The Last Airbender Blu-ray release. So this arrived a couple of days ago and I got around to looking at a decent amount of stuff on the discs and I feel I'm ready now to talk about this. So the big thing with this, of course, Avatar's first time being released on Blu-ray. Korra, of course, came out in Blu-ray, but this is the first time that Avatar has come out on Blu-ray. And there was a lot of excitement when it was announced. It's now out. It had an exclusive release in Best Buy. Now it's out everywhere. The one thing to note, though, with this is that it is only out in America. It's an American release, so I did have to get this from Amazon.com, whereas I am actually from Ireland. But I can confirm that these actually do play just on a standard, well, my Blu-ray player is my Xbox One, but it's a Irish UK Xbox One, so it plays on that. So the whole thing that usually ends up happening with a lot of Blu-rays where they say they're from a certain region, but actually they're not actually region blocked, is actually the case with this. You can, at least if you're from Ireland or the UK at least, I don't know for other regions, you can play these even though it's American on UK Blu-ray players. So it played for me and that was fine. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the packaging. Here is the sleeve that you get it on. See, it says first time on Blu-ray, complete series. Really nice Aang in the Avatar state with the element symbols in the back. Side is just your standard stuff. Same here. The back you can see has a cutout here for the barcode, and then it's just a basic kind of graphics to explain what's on it. The back tells you what all the featurettes and stuff like that are, but I'll go through those in a little bit more depth in a second. So take the sleeve off, and there's our new cover from Brian Konietzko. Really nice, the 5 main characters. He really knows, of course, it's his art style basically. He really knows how to draw the characters well. I like that they went for the book 3 designs for the characters rather than the earlier designs. I think that makes the most sense. And there's the spine. Pretty standard stuff, and then the back is more or less the same as the other one. It's just obviously slightly differently colored. When you go inside, of course, you get the discs. There's nothing on the back side of the cover, if you were wondering that. 9 discs in this set, and the interesting thing here is that when I first looked at it, and you can see it says there, Book 1 Water, Disc 1. I was like, okay, water, they're going with blue. You turn it around and like, okay, there's Water Disc 2, Water Disc 3. So I'm like, okay, when I turn this over, is Earth, are they going to be green? And then for Fire, are they going to be red? But unfortunately, no. When you go through the whole thing, all 9 discs are just this blue color, which makes sense, it's Blu-ray. But it would have been that little extra thing to put the presentation kind of over the top, to have the colors for each book kind of represented on the discs. But that's all there is to actually the physical thing. You don't get any extras, at least in this edition. I don't know if the Best Buy included anything else. I don't think it did. I think with Best Buy, literally, I think this sticker was replaced with just like Best Buy exclusive. But yeah, that's all there is to actually looking at that. So what is on the discs? As I said, there are 9 discs here, so 3 for each book. And roughly the way they do it is that each disc features 8 episodes, but the 3rd disc only features like obviously the remaining 4 episodes. So disc 1 has the first 8 episodes. It also has the Kung Fu featurette, as well as the making of the animation, which is basically Mike and Brian doing their acting thing, where they literally film themselves doing the actions that they want the animators to do. These 2 featurettes are very short. They're only like 3-4 minutes each. There's not a lot to them, and again, we've seen all of these extras before. That's why I'm not focusing too much on like exactly, like reading at the back of the box what you get. I'm just kind of demonstrating here what's on each of the discs. Disc 2 is also 8 episodes. You get a voice actors feature this time out, as well as an Ask the Creators feature, and then you get the full animatic of Bottle of the Water Tribe. The animatic is basically early stages of the animation. It's all in black and white. It's not really in any way finished animation. This is just meant to demonstrate the movement and stuff like that of the scenes. So that's pretty cool to see. Probably not the greatest episode, I think, to feature that on, but it is what it is. No episode commentaries in the first 2 discs. Disc 3, you get obviously episodes 17, 18, 19, and 20 of Book 1. You get episode commentaries for all of those episodes. So the only Book 1 episode commentaries out there are for the last 4 episodes. You get a behind the scenes with the Avatar cast and crew. Again, that's very just like quick. Like you get the voice actors and stuff like that on screen saying a line or two. That's fine. You get more in-depth analysis here. You get like an inside the sound studio, so you get focuses on the Foley. Benjamin Wynn is here, and just how the sound process of the show. It's not about the music, it's about the actual sound design. I think the best feature on the entire set is on this disc as well. It's called basically Inside the Animation. It's where Brian basically interviews some of the people at JM Animation, Moy Animation, and DR Movie. It's like 25 minutes long, and you just get to see the animators from the show actually talk about it, and they ask them a couple of questions. It's pretty nice. On this disc, the last thing you also get is the Unaired Pilot with audio commentary. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to turn off the commentary, so it looks like I think you only do get it with commentary. So they've still yet to properly just release the normal clean version of that. So I think the only way you ever would have got that is, like, I think a few years ago iTunes put up a collection that features it without it, so it's out there, but I don't think that's known by too many people. But anyway, you do get it here, it just has the commentary over it. Disc 4 moves into Book 2 Earth. You get, again, first 8 episodes of Book 2 Earth. You get the Avatar State animatics, that's the same as the Botto one, but for the Avatar State episode. You get audio commentaries for The Blind Bandit and The Chase. Disc 5 features, this is where it's a little bit different. You get basically, if you go to the episode selection screen, you get 7 basically things to choose, but it is 8 episodes. And that's because they combine The Serpent's Pass and The Drill into one thing, and they call it there on the menu The Secret of the Fire Nation. Now, obviously, this is a pretty known thing, because when Book 2 Earth aired, they sort of promoted these 2 episodes as a 2-parter, The Secret of the Fire Nation. But then it also has a secondary name, because if you go into the episode commentaries, it says that there is a commentary for 212, which is The Serpent's Pass, but they call it Journey to Ba Sing Se Part 1. So The Drill and The Serpent's Pass have like multiple names. They have their own individual episode names, and then the 2 episodes as a 2-parter are all known as The Secret of the Fire Nation and The Journey to Ba Sing Se. So that's just a bit funny that they have that there like that. So yeah, you get those 2 episode commentaries, and they're the only extras on this disc. Disc 6, you get 3, but it's actually 4 episodes. They combine The Guru and Crossroads of Destiny into one episode, which is kind of weird because they're not really like part 1 and part 2. Like, yes, they are technically like the finale, because you just usually end up combining the last 2 episodes into a finale anyway. But it is odd that they separate them, and then they just literally show it as The Guru, and then they have a slash, and then say Crossroads of Destiny. You also get episode commentaries for the last 4 episodes. You get 217, 218, and 2... Oh no, you don't get 219 actually. You get 220, so they don't do one for The Guru. And this is where they also do a thing with some of the episode commentaries, where they have to make a note on the episodes that specifically says that the visuals of this episode will be shown in standard definition, where it is a HD release here on Blu-ray. And initially I was kind of like, why do they do this? Why is there only a couple of these episode commentaries where they do it like this, where it's just kind of, they have to show the visuals in SD, but they can do it in a different way on the other one. And I think what I broke it down to, and I didn't look at all of them, is that they do that for the ones where there is a previously on avatar with it, because one of the things across all of the episodes on this is that there are no previously on avatars. They take those out, which is basically just a recap stuff, which I completely understand. You have a complete series set, you don't need to show those recaps because you can watch any episode whenever you want. They are purely there for the TV audience who maybe hasn't seen the last episode in a while, especially if production is kind of all over the place. So they had to take those out. But if you watch the episode commentaries, they actually start the commentary. The commentary track starts with the intro, then goes into the previous on Avatar through the title card coming up. Whereas in this, what they've, I suppose, remastered in a way, brought up to HD, is literally just the intro, the title card, and then the episode. So they haven't gone back and done the previously on avatars, and they haven't bothered which I understand completely, it seems like a pointless effort to edit together the exact same scenes that are in every previous thing on Avatar with the newly remastered stuff that they have. That just seems like a complete waste of time to remaster the recaps. So I think that's why they do it. And so what they do is just that when you're watching the commentary, you're there for the audio, not so much the episode like quality, the max quality, and they just account for the fact that a little bit of commentary happens before this, and to avoid having to edit anything, they just give it to you as it was originally on the DVDs. So that's that. You get an interview with Mike Bryan and M. Night Shyamalan. So obviously this was in around the time where the movie was confirmed, but before like basically any of the details had come out about it. You get the chibi shorts here, which is like the bending battle, you know, swamp throwdown thing. Those three things you get there. And you also get the full Escape from the Spirit World kind of web comic, animated graphic novel thing, which is originally a game, but they later edited it into just be the story content, which is really good. It's actually a really, really good story, so that's really cool. Disc 7, basically the only notable thing on this is that there are episode commentaries for 304, 305, and 306. Disc 8 is... here's where you get... It's like 6 episodes on the episode selector, but it's actually 8 because they put the Day of Black Sun together, so the 2 invasion episodes they put together, as well as the Boiling Rock. They just put them together and call it the Boiling Rock. They make a little bit more sense, absolutely. And you get episode commentaries for the full invasion, you get episode commentaries for the Western Air Temple, and you get an episode commentary for the Southern Raiders. Last disc, you get... there's 2 tiles on the episode selector thing, but it's actually 5 episodes. So they put Sozin's Comet just together as one thing. You select Sozin's Comet, you get all those 4 episodes. You get episode commentaries on all of the last 5 episodes. And, was it? Yeah, I think it was everything. And you get a Women of Avatar feature, which is about a 15-minute long thing where they basically just talk about the 3 main female characters, and they have a few people mentioning it. It's a fine feature. There's nothing particularly notable about it because it's basically just praising the show for like having good female characters, which was more of an issue, I suppose, at the time, but nowadays just kind of feels like, yeah, Avatar doesn't really have this problem. Like, okay. You get the Book 3 finale pencil test, and then the pencil test is different than the animatic because you actually get to see what is effectively just one of like the artists, like what's actually drawn, they draw to actually do the animation. You get to see a lot of those put together, and what really comes across, especially in the finale, is the pencil lines and just how the visuals look on the bending effect. Like especially the Azula Zuko Agni Kai, seeing that with just you can see the pencil lines of all of the fire and stuff like that. So it doesn't so much like kind of phase out of the background and stuff like that. You actually see that in a lot of these action scenes where it's just crazy bending going on, so much of the animation is actually just in the effects of the bending and stuff like that. So that's really, really cool to see that. And then the last feature you get is the San Diego Comic-Con 2007 panel, where they show off the first trailer for Book 3 Fire, and you get to see obviously the way the panel actually plays out. The thing to note about this is that this is not the New York Comic Con panel from 2008, which you're probably thinking of, which is where they showed the finale for Book 3 trailer. The difference obviously is it was New York Comic Con where you got the crazy screaming reaction to the amazing trailer. The first Book 3 trailer is good, but you don't get as much of a crowd reaction to it. So it's an interesting feature, but perhaps not the panel you would have necessarily wanted to. So that's everything that's on the set. Is it missing anything? Does it have anything new compared to what we've had before? It has nothing new, but it is missing something. And what it's missing is a documentary feature that came out, I think it was probably 2011 or 2012, when they re-released Book 1 of Avatar as a collector's edition. They didn't do this with Book 2 or 3, they just stopped it for some reason, but there is a collector's edition of Book 1 out there. It's an American release thing, so that's the only way you can get it. And instead of it being a 6-disc set, which the American book 1 set has always been. It's actually a 7-disc set. You get an extra disc, and what's on this disc is a 30 or so minute documentary basically covering like Mike and Brian and the journey of the show, basically the ideas of Avatar, how they went about making it, covering them across the run of the show. It's a really, really good documentary. It's on YouTube, you can watch it, but it's not included here for some reason. And I'm not exactly sure why, because as far as I remember, it was the only feature on that set when it was released that was effectively in like good enough quality, in that like it was much better quality than everything else. So I'm not sure why they didn't do that. Maybe it was filmed by someone else because it's a bit of a different feature and they don't have the license to it anymore, but still, it makes the set feel a little incomplete when probably the best extra feature that we've ever got from Avatar on these sets isn't actually on this kind of deluxe set that's more or less meant to be for the 10-year anniversary of the ending of the show. So there's that. And then as for like, does it deserve some criticism for not having any new features? I think a little bit, just because we've been waiting for so long for them to put Avatar out on Blu-ray, that you'd think that they do some sort of an updated feature. Just because like, there's no mention of Korra on this at all. And I think that feels very weird, that there's no acknowledgement that it's not just a solo show anymore. I would have liked to have seen some sort of a feature, if not just like a trailer for Legend of Korra. Even if it was just like an advertisement for the fact that there's a Korra on Blu-ray and a trailer for that show. Acknowledging that they did more after this and something along those lines. That something like the Legacy of Avatar feature where they cover that. They address the fact that there are comics. If you want to know about Zuko's mom after watching the series, read this comic. Those sort of things, like, I think would have been nice to see. And I think something along the lines of just an updated interview kind of feature with Mike and Brian so long after the show, I think would have really put this thing over the edge. I don't think they needed to go overboard and do like so many more extra features, but just this would have been, I think, absolutely perfect if they had had the documentary we know is out there on this, and then a feature addressing that like Korra exists, the comic exists, the fact that the franchise is still going on, and then an updated interview with Mike and Brian. I think those three things would have put this completely over the top. Otherwise, it's a solid set, but it really is just basically a Blu-ray version of the like last US release, which is this DVD set. In that the menus, of course, are different because it's for a Blu-ray versus a DVD, and where the extras are is obviously moved around a little bit. But fundamentally, the only difference between this and this is the HD. So, which I suppose gets to actually asking the question, how good is it? Is it noticeable? Because I think the biggest thing to note about this set overall is that it's all still in 4:3. It's still 4:3 aspect ratio. It's not going to be widescreen. You still get the black bars on the side of your screen, just like the DVD. So the size of the visuals on screen are the exact same as the DVD. But the quality is obviously up. They specifically note on the back that it is in 1080p high definition. Is it that noticeable? Yes, in terms of a comparison to the really, really bad discs from like book 1. Book 1 on DVD has some really bad DVD transfers. I don't know the specific technical terms for it, but a couple of those episodes, like episode 1, 2, and 4, especially, I think, from book 1, are awful. And it comes in and out of the series. It's not so much present in like book 3, but there are still times when it does come back. And it's just these really bad like effects that are happening where it looks like the line art has this kind of halo around it the whole time. At times the line art is kind of flickering a bit. You notice the kind of in-between animation frames, like that there's like this effect going on. It doesn't look very good, and for such a good show to have never up until now had a good like home video release was always a huge negative about the show. So in those episodes you absolutely notice the difference in quality, because it looked messy. On the previous DVDs, those episodes always felt they looked messy because the art never came across clean enough because of these little DVD artifacts or whatever they were about how that happened. Here, it's clean. All that stuff is removed. You see the full cleanliness of the different frames, the animation. The colors are a little better for sure. That's one thing you do notice, I think. And just, it is a absolutely cleaner watching experience. There are episodes though on the DVDs where, you know, the DVD transfer isn't like terrible and it's actually okay. In those episodes, the comparison I think isn't as much. You don't notice it all that much, and I think a lot of it does come down to the fact that the aspect ratio is still 4:3. In that, like, I think this would be much easier to notice if a show went from SD 16:9 to HD 16:9, whereas here it just being 4:3 HD, you don't notice it as much in a way because it is kind of a little bit cramped. As I said, those bad episodes where like there are clearly some technical problems with the DVDs, it's really noticeable. Not as much with the episodes where there wasn't too much of a problem. Now, I will say on that front, I've never been someone who's like overly obsessed with everything needs to be in the max like definition possible. I'm perfectly fine if the only way it's available is like 480p. I'm fine with watching a YouTube video that way or something like that. There's very few things where I'm kind of like, yeah, I actually have to have this in HD. So I'm so used to Avatar in SD. You notice the difference. I suppose people who are really technical about it care about it a lot. You will notice exactly what's going on. Me personally, I didn't notice it as much. As for why it's not widescreen, why it's not 16:9, based on what I know about production on the show and stuff like that, because the show is more or less built for that aspect ratio, there is nothing there to really stretch out. If you stretch it out, you're literally just stretching the visuals of what the show is, and it's morphing things. So you end up kind of making everything look a little bit wider and stuff like that, and you have to kind of squish it down. So you'll just kind of alter the scale of the visuals on screen rather than just like extending it out, because otherwise they would have to pretty much reanimate everything to account for all that extra space, and that's obviously not available. That's a pretty crazy project to do, and from everyone who knows a little bit more about this that I've heard from, it is the case where like there was no simple way to just remaster it and have it be really, really high quality 16:9. So this was the only way to do a 1080p release. So that's, I suppose, my thoughts on the quality, which is the main new thing about the set. Is it worth it for the price that it is and so on? I think yes, just because it's it is the best version of Avatar as like a complete set release. Obviously, if you're not from America, you're going to have to like import this, which means you're going to have to pay a little bit more in shipping, customs charges potentially as well. But it is the best way to watch the show. And if you, like me, absolutely hate having to put in those first couple of Book 1 water discs where the show does not look good, it actively takes away from the watching of those episodes, I felt like I needed this to be able to like in an acceptable way watch those episodes that are so badly affected by the DVD transfer. So it was worth it for me. Obviously there are some disappointments, that big documentary being left out of the extras, there being no new extras, and that sort of thing. Maybe some slight things of like why weren't like some of the other discs colored green and red to just really get it across. An element of like, I maybe wish that because it is the 10-year anniversary, they've maybe made a little bit of a collector's edition out of this, like included some sort of like an art book or something along those lines. And then I think just something simple, like the fact that it's not really acknowledged, like that Korra is a thing like anywhere on this, just feels a little bit weird in terms of like trying to build a kind of universe and being aware that other stuff exists. So they're my kind of overall thoughts on this. If I was to give it a score out of 10, I'd probably give it an 8, in that it's excellent overall, but the update in quality isn't so good that it's like mind-blowing type thing. it's something you have to look out for on a lot of the episodes to notice how much better it is. It is. But again, it's one of those things where, like, I think you only really notice it if you were, like, literally had two screens, DVD, Blu-ray, and were, like, directly comparing them. So what I'm going to do next is actually, in the best way I could, compare two screenshots from the show. Now, with the Blu-ray, I was able to just put it into my computer and get that. Sorry, with the DVD, I was able to just put it into my laptop and get a screenshot from the show. With the Blu-ray, because I don't have a Blu-ray player in my laptop, or like an external one or anything like that I can connect, I wasn't able to get just a, you know, proper screen grab of it. So I took a picture of the screen, and that's why you'll notice that in the comparison, the Blu-ray shot looks all weird and kind of in terms of the lighting, because it is just me with a camera taking a picture of the screen rather than actually taking a screenshot from like the laptop, like a print screen type thing. But I think this will get across like what this release fixes, but that it's not so like, yeah, they fixed like a show that never looked good or anything like that. So that's basically been the video, and I'll just finish off with this comparison here. Okay, so this first screenshot is from the DVD. This is a direct screenshot. I was able to take this on my computer, so this is exactly how it looks when you play it. I have inserted these two arrows in to kind of point out a little bit more clearly what I want to talk about here. But obviously this is from the DVD. I think this is one of the worst affected episodes, which is the first episode, The Boy in the Iceberg. What I'm pointing there on Sokka's face is that if you kind of look really, really closely, you can see that there's kind of this, it basically ends up looking like a white line that's just kind of beyond the line art. And it surrounds a little bit of everything. You'll notice this like all over these really badly affected episodes, of just look a little bit past the line art, and there's this kind of halo type effect kind of coming off them that makes it look like the line art has this weird effect on it that's projecting past it. And what it ends up doing is it makes the line art, the basically outline of characters, and whenever there's a black line, basically, it makes it look like it's almost flickering when it's animating. And this has always been the problem with these early book episodes. With Katara's hand there in the corner, you can see I sort of caught this at like an in-between frame, which usually is fine. You sort of end up having this kind of effect where, like, yeah, the character's hand is perhaps drawn twice. But look at the weird line effect kind of that's going through it. They're directly kind of horizontal lines, and especially like when you're kind of flicking through the episode, and if you really, really focus on the way kind of things are moving on screen, you notice this effect come up a lot. You see these kind of horizontal lines kind of appear when there's a big motion of a character through the different frames that the animation's going through. So it feels like there was just a really, really bad mistake made when putting the DVD together that's caused a lot of these issues. Similarly, around Katara's waist there, you can see that the lines that are kind of above and below the white part of her kind of coat, you can see they're not particularly clean. And that's obviously what the Blu-ray kind of fixes up. All of that stuff kind of goes away. It becomes much cleaner. This weird kind of haloing type effect is removed. And like especially on Sokka's face here, you can see it a lot. Just look around his eyebrow, the one that you can see that's not covered up by the arrow, and you can see that it's right there too. There's this kind of white kind of thing surrounding his eyebrow. Similarly, like his eye, where like his iris and kind of pupil are close to the bottom of his kind of like eyelid. You see that again, it's a little bit kind of blurry there. It doesn't really seem like all that good. And, you know, you see this constantly throughout stuff. It looks pretty bad, especially in shots where the characters are maybe a little bit further off in the background, where it's meant to be the characters appearing fairly small on screen. And this is just like from the opening scene of the show as well. Like, this is only like, I think, like 1 or 2 minutes into the show, and you already see these kind of issues. Whereas here is the same scene. I couldn't get the exact frame, But I think it more or less is. It might be like 0.1 of a second like after the one from the previous shot. But you can see here, you don't really catch the Blu-ray doing the weird thing where it's kind of in between frames. Now, why does this screenshot look weird? It's because I had no way to take a screenshot in the normal way you take a screenshot, because my Blu-ray player is my Xbox. I don't actually have any way to play Blu-rays on my computer, so I had to just take a picture of my TV screen, and this is the best way it comes out. Now, thankfully, I think it's clear enough. The only real, I think, noticeable thing that's weird is just the lighting, and that is purely down to the lighting in my room when I took the picture. The colors do not look like this on screen. I think the colors do look a little different on the Blu-ray, but I think it's much cleaner and clearer. But just be aware that what I'm trying to point out here is that some of the issues from the DVD are gone when you look at the Blu-ray. So immediately you can see that around Sokka's kind of hairline at the top, where we pointed out previously, the weird kind of white halo-y bit is gone. Again, with Katara, all that stuff is gone. Again, if we look at Katara's waist, the white part, the line art is so much clearer. And the same with everything else. Like, look at Sokka's eye. You can actually see the little gap between the bottom of like Sokka's iris and then the bottom of his the start of his kind of face below his eye. Whereas that was all kind of like blurry in the previous shot. His eyebrow, again, they don't have the weird kind of blurry effect on it and stuff like that. It is really, really, really clean. Now, I apologize for not being able to show this in a clearer way. If I had any way to take a proper screenshot of the Blu-ray, I would. But I think this gets it across fairly well. So let's just quickly flick between these a couple of times. And you can see sort of that, even with the bad picture of the screen as the Blu-ray, you can still tell that it's much cleaner, much clearer. There's just a general blurriness across the whole image that sort of goes away because the quality is much higher. Plus some of the more technical things that I pointed out that really you do notice when you're watching some of these badly affected episodes. You do notice those things, and they're gone in the Blu-ray. So that's all I wanted to say here. But yeah, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.